Hey guys, welcome to another Monday review. Today I'm going to be talking about The Conjuring 2. Now this is the sequel to The Conjuring, which came out in 2013. Both films were directed by James Wan, which in my opinion is the best horror director that's currently working today. So The Conjuring 2 takes place in North London. It's about this family who's being tormented by like this vengeful spirit, and famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren go to investigate to make sure it's real and maybe help the family out if it is real. Now, James Wan is probably, like I said, one of my favorite horror directors possibly ever. He understands the genre better than anyone that I know. And I absolutely love the first Conjuring film, so in order for this to top that, it was going to have to take a lot. And this film absolutely delivered. This was probably one of the best sequels to a film, maybe ever, especially for a horror film. Horror films are notoriously known for having terrible sequels, but this one I think went above and beyond even the first film. The Conjuring 2 really gave a lot more to the movie than just a horror film. It was primarily, obviously, a horror film, but you got moments of like sadness, happiness even, like there was a joke or two. I mean, there were a lot of elements in this film that you don't typically find in a normal horror movie, especially today. James Wan does something with the horror genre that I think is very revolutionary, where he creates these terrors and these frights that are not only very compelling, that you believe that you are actually scared in your seat watching this film for these characters and even for yourself. But he adds so much depth to the characters. He adds so much depth to the film story. Everything aligns so well when James Wan does a horror film that it's just phenomenal. Another great thing is that this film absolutely has no drag whatsoever. At no point in this film is like just over 2 hours, I think. And it feels like it's a long film. Like, you definitely get your content worth of this film. At no point did it feel like it was dragging. At no point was I bored. Was I checking to see how much longer this film had left in it? Did I like roll my eyes? Was I diverting my eyes away from the screen to see, like, oh boy, this is so boring. No, this film kept me engaged the entire time. I felt like I was in the 70s. This film takes place in like 77, right after Amityville, which I like that they mentioned in this film. They didn't actually make another film for it, because Amityville is so played out. There's been so many films about it. I like that they touched on it, but they moved on past that into this film with the North London case, which actually happens to be like one of the most notorious paranormal cases ever, which actually I had no idea until this film, so who knew? But the environment, the character depth, the characterization, the clothing, the period itself, it felt like I was in 1977. And I completely forgot I had a cell phone in my pocket at one point. Like, it buzzed because I got an email or something, and that kind of took me out of the movie, because I was like, technology like this exists? Because you feel so much in this environment, and you feel so sucked into the world. It's really an enjoying experience to be fully sucked into a movie like that. Also, the performances in this film are absolutely phenomenal. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga, I hope I'm saying that correctly, do an amazing job as the Warrens. They were in the first film, The Conjuring. They come back in The Conjuring 2. They keep this film together. They feel like a real married couple going through struggles, going through various things, and it feels so real, the love these two have for each other. There are certain character moments where you really see these people are absolutely in love with each other, and it's so believable. Also, the little girl in this film that's possessed does a phenomenal job. Her crying, she cries like on point, like it's ridiculous. Her screaming is amazing. Like, she's really good. She's like 11 years old, but the way she took over this movie was amazing, because most little kids, they do okay in films, but horror films, not really. But this little girl went above and beyond for this film. She did an amazing job. I do have to say that I probably have maybe one or two complaints about the entire film. My first complaint being the youngest boy, the youngest brother. There's this sort of like running theme in the first like 30-40 minutes maybe even less than that, because it's a very long movie, so maybe it's a lot shorter than I thought. But where he has a speech impediment and he's super adorable. But he has this thing with like biscuits or like cookies pretty much that it kind of gets annoying. Like, they say biscuits like about 12 times in the span of about 4 or 5 minutes. And I don't know, there's something about it that just irked me for some reason, and I just didn't like it. Like, they could have done without this little boy going, biscuits, like every 2 minutes. I don't know, but I didn't like that part. My second complaint is actually one of the characters. I don't want to ruin it for you. I hope you see the film. This character that sort of comes to life to scare them, that they sort of are familiar with. If you see the film or have seen the film, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But the way that he develops, and there's another scene with that same character, it felt overly CGI. Now, James Wan does an amazing job of practical effects, especially in his horror movies. But I feel like he got a little CGI heavy with that character. Maybe it was like his time with Furious 7 or like the upcoming Aquaman movie where he's starting to get a little bit more CGI friendly. But I wasn't a big fan of that. I liked the character itself. I love that whole story. But there was something about it that was just too CGI for me. Like it just didn't fit well with the rest of the movie. Maybe when it comes out on Blu-ray, it'll look a lot better. Maybe it's just my initial experience with it. That part kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. Overall, I have to give The Conjuring 2 an A. Now, this film was absolutely phenomenal. It went above and beyond the first film. I loved the first Conjuring film. And honestly, I'm not that big of a fan of horror. But James Wan horror is something very special. He understands the craft. He understands what to do with horror. He understands how to follow certain cliches, but not follow every cliche, which is actually very refreshing. It has great, phenomenal acting, phenomenal set pieces. Everything about this film is amazing. Like even after I saw the film later in the night, one of the characters I couldn't get out of my head, so it took me a little bit longer to go to sleep. Like it stays with you, and I think that's something that a horror movie should do. A lot of horror movies haven't done that lately, and James Wan understands how to do that. And this film was absolutely phenomenal. I highly recommend seeing it. If you're not a big horror fan like me, like I do like some horror movies, I'm not going to lie, but I'm not the biggest horror junkie. But I highly recommend seeing it. If you're not a big fan of horror, like I said, maybe don't necessarily see it in the theaters, but maybe do check it out when it does come out on Blu-ray. Maybe have a couple people around you, all the lights on, all that good stuff. I definitely think it's worth checking out, though. It's amazingly made, and it's absolutely an amazing film. Also, very quickly, unrelated to The Conjuring 2, I decided that I'm going to skip my monthly picks for June. I have family in town, I have a house full of people, and it's absolutely insane right now. So I'm going to be doing my normal schedule, but I just can't quite pull out monthly picks as well. So I'm going to skip that this month. Hopefully I'll be on to it next month, and we'll be back to everything is gravy. But I'm just going to skip that for right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like always, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. And we'll see you guys in the next one.